Hey, what's up, everybody? Championship Leadership Podcast, and today I'm excited. I came across Aaron Hale. He's a 14-year U.S. Army veteran, um, owner with himself and his wife. They got two very newborn 6-month-old twins, so they got a lot going on in their life. But I came across Aaron recently. I just Alec Lace had him on my show. He's a podcast host of First Class Fatherhood, and Aaron was a guest on his show as well. So I wanted to see if I could get him on, and he's nice enough to come on to my show. So thank you, Aaron, for being here today. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much for the invite. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you and to your listeners.
Yeah, thank you. And well, we all have a very special story, but you do as well. And I got to ask the first question that I always ask all my guests, and then I really want to get into your story as well, and kind of lead that into how that shows up for you and where you are today in life. But first and foremost, what do you think of when you hear championship leadership? Like, what does that mean to you when you hear that?
No, first thing I think of when I think of leadership, championship leadership is character. You can direct resources all you want, but that's just management, and that's not leadership. Uh, it comes from being humble and being the willingness to learn and to inspire, and coach and train and direct others towards a shared vision.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I love that. It's always fun. I always get a different answer from everyone. We've been doing, I think there's like 55 of these shows now, and it's always fun to hear the answer to that, because when it comes to leadership, it's everybody's got a little bit different taste of what it really is. But could you could you paint a picture for us today of kind of what's led you to where you are in life? You uh, you were part of an E.O.D. You're on the E.O.D. team in the Army. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay.
Uh, I actually started off in the military, in the Navy as a
You
cook.
did.
Uh, I spent almost 8 years as a Navy cook.
Okay.
I spent half of that time stationed in Italy. Real hardship duty. But I got to, I was the made my way to earn my way to cooking for a 3-star admiral, the commander of the Sixth Fleet.
Wow.
And
That's cool.
during that time, I had the honor of cooking for him and his staff. We'd sail around the Mediterranean, pull into foreign ports, and throw receptions for dignitaries and royalty, um, and then I got to tour around Europe, which was fantastic. Appreciate the culture, customs, and then we were home ported in Italy. So even when I came back and we were on my off duty time, I got to become an Italian and immerse
Oh,
myself in cuisine and culture and wine and coffee and
yeah.
all the wonderful things that Italy has to offer. But during this was the first couple of years of the new millennium, and by 2004, we were well into one war, and just kicking off another one.
Hmm.
And I decided that I needed to do something. I just felt a calling to do something a little more direct. I wanted to be on the battlefield,
Yeah. Okay.
and I volunteered to become what they called an individual augmentee. It was Air Force and Navy service members filling in, much needed roles on the what was mostly the Army and Marine battlefield at the time. So as a Navy cook, I went out and ran an Army chow hall in Farah, Afghanistan.
Okay.
That was a big switch from cooking for about 25 top brass in the Sixth
Yeah.
Fleet to cooking for 5, 6, 700 ISAF NATO troops. And I was there, but that was when I met some E.O.D technicians, explosive ordnance disposal,
Yeah.
and that's the military's bomb squad. And I met these guys, and I learned all about their job, the tight knit brotherhood, the high paced, difficult, and very technical job they had, and everything about it turned me on. I was
Mhm.
instantly hooked, and of course they volunteered to they allowed me to come along on one of their controlled detonations where they were disposing of some stuff they collected from the battlefield. And wow, guys and blowing stuff up, that was the hook. Anyways, um when I returned home after my deployment, I tried to be, I put in a request to switch from being a Navy cook to Navy E.O.D, but they denied my request.
Okay.
My contract was nearing an end, and I decided that I would let my contract with the Navy expire, and I went over to the Army and asked them. I handed my paperwork over, said I want to go E.O.D, and they said, "Welcome up, no, welcome." I don't say welcome aboard. That's the Navy thing. But
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I trained as a soldier, then I trained as an E.O.D tech, and very soon after graduating E.O.D school, I was right back out in the desert. This time to Iraq, and then I deployed again to Afghanistan in 2011. And that's where I was injured.
Okay. Yeah. And yeah, that's quite the journey. Now, so the extraordinary delights makes way more sense to me. I was like, where'd these cooking skills go from a guy that was bomb squad guy in the army to making delicious fudge? And so now that
Well, yeah, the cooking for me, it never went away. It was always a passion.
yeah, right,
In fact, even on the battlefield, in my downtime, we're not fighting
yeah,
constantly the whole time. You need some downtime. Some guys watch movies, tons of movies, or play video games
mhm,
or something, work out. Um, I did a lot of that too, but I also behind our hooch or behind our tent, I built a moon dust, like a mud brick, sun baked mud brick pizza oven.
oh, cool,
Yeah,
yeah,
so way out in the middle of the battlefield, far from the niceties of home. I
yeah.
was bringing fresh baked bread, loaves of bread into the talk. They're like, where did you get that? I don't
Yeah,
worry about it. Don't worry about
yeah, don't worry about it. And I'm sure, yeah, you were a fan favorite too for doing that.
it. Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, I was deployed to Kuwait in 2005, 2006, so I can relate with yeah, there's a lot of downtime when you're not working or out doing what you're supposed to be doing. But um, tell me, so yeah, so you the bomb exploded on you as you were working, correct? And what how did that play into, like, how was that journey for you? I can only imagine what that was like to go from that to get back into life outside of the military, and then eventually, now you got two beautiful young twin boys, you're married, and you got this business going on, like, but I'm sure in between all of that, was some difficulty.
Uh, yeah, there were certainly quite a few difficult times, but I definitely credit, uh, besides the strength and the support of my family and friends who carried me through. Definitely leaned on them for the hardest of the times. Um,
Mhm.
I grant, I give my training in the military. Uh, the credit for making me forging me into
Yeah.
somebody who's got the resilience, and at least the perspective to know that there's there's a light at the end. There's a good ending beyond, these difficulties. So yeah, without a doubt, my military experiences and training prepared me for what was to come ahead.
Yeah. So yeah, it's very interesting to hear that. And then are there any leaders, maybe it's through your military experience, maybe it's outside of the military, some championship level leaders that have really impacted you that maybe you were able to lean on a little bit during these tough times of life, as well as that you were just be able to take things that you learned from them as well to help put you on the path you're on today.
Absolutely. For one, I recently spoke to a terrific leader, Jason Redmond, former Navy SEAL,
Yeah.
who was also injured. He wrote the book Trident, which is an awesome book on leadership because
Awesome.
he explores his frailties, his faults, and he goes his journey from kind of a brash and arrogant young sailor, SEAL, to becoming the type of leader that people want to follow. And that was an incredible, he was going through his injuries almost the same time as mine. And I read his book at a monumental point in my recovery.
Mm-hmm.
As far as leaders in my own ranks and in my own experiences, you kind of piecemeal every good and bad lesson you learn. And I had some fantastic leaders in both the Navy and in the Army. One of my favorite lessons, and when I talk about when I do my speaking events, is something I call the tools in your kit. And it it was my first sergeant who was talking about, you're going to have to learn how to do everything with basically just a rope and a carabiner and your knife. But the thing is, it was so astounding because E.O.D, the bomb squad, we're each in the Army, it's a 3-person team normally.
Uh-huh.
One team leader and a couple team members to support the team leader. As the highest ranking, most experienced guy is the one that goes down and works on the IED.
Okay.
Or the unexploded ordnance, the millions of munitions that are left unexploded on the battlefield.
Yeah.
But we have to handle everything from pyrotechnics like marine flares and old World War or Civil War cannonballs to nuclear weapons. And we're given an entire shipping container full of tools. Every 3-person team has this ridiculously huge toolbox, basically, of robots and bomb suits and power tools and you name it, hazmat suits and decontamination kits. And then we get to the battlefield like Iraq, and we're given this armored truck, and we got to fill every crevice, box, panel, shelf, stick things under seats.
Yeah.
And load that truck, but we can't fit everything.
Right.
So we got to leave some of those tools behind. And then we get to Afghanistan, and most of the roads and most of the paths are just goat trails. And you can't take your truck. So the guys have to go dismount or on foot. Now you're basically left with whatever you can carry on your back in your rucksack. And it came down to a couple bear charges of C4, a couple blocks of C4, a rope, a carabiner, a knife, and then, of course, your water and MREs and whatnot.
Yeah.
And you still are expected to perform the same duties. Well, I always fall back on that lesson that I learned is that, we have, it's our most powerful weapon and our most powerful tools, our mind and our creativity and our perspective. So, after my injury, and then later, a couple of years later, after my illness, I'd lost some of my tools, my eyes, my hearing, and I was expected to to carry on. I was still expected to be a husband, a
Mhm.
father. We're running a business, and I got to use what tools I still have in my kit to carry on and to perform.
Yeah, yeah, that's an incredible story. And so what talk to me about how maybe losing some of those tools might actually make you better in some ways, right? Like because you now have to learn how to utilize what the tools that you do have, and unconventionally, like you said, the rope, the carabiner. Yeah, is there examples of how that has potentially made you even more proficient or better as a man, as a father, as a husband, because of that?
Well, I think it's no matter what your life throws at us, instead of worrying about what we've lost, what we don't
Mm-hmm.
have, we
Mm-hmm.
take the situation we're given, and we just have that you get that can do attitude. You know, instead of I can't do this because I don't have this specific skill or this tool. I'm going to figure out how to accomplish this mission. I'm going to go over, around, through. I'm going to breach this obstacle somehow, and I'm gonna be successful in the end. And that kind of attitude is also contagious, and it has momentum. And success builds on success, and it comes from from not worrying about what you don't have and trying to learn and do what you can.
Yeah, right. Talk to us about the extraordinary delights, and how that all came about throughout this process, and maybe tell us a little bit more about what it is for those of us that are listening that have no idea. Right?
Absolutely. Well, like I said, I started off as a cook, and I've been cooking since I could reach over the counter, and experimenting, sometimes to the chagrin of my family. But I always had a passion for it. But when I became a bomb technician, that past career I kind of left to the side. Still love to cook, but in 2011 I was injured by an IED. I lost my eyesight, and I went on to I retired from the military, and I managed to keep a good attitude about it, and maybe it was just just a sheer terror of being stuck indoors or feeling sorry for myself. But I got out. I started telling my story, speaking. Um, I even started climbing mountains, raw whitewater kayaking, running marathons, and I was doing pretty well for myself
Yeah.
until 2015, almost 4 years after the IED took my eyes.
Mm.
A uh, uh, bacterial meningitis crept into the injury. Part of my injuries were not just losing my eyesight, but it had cracked my skull, and they'd repaired it, but it either reopened or hadn't been completely patched in the beginning. And
Okay.
a pathway out of the brain is also a pathway in.
Yeah.
So, bacterial meningitis crept in there and stole what was left of my hearing, not to mention nearly killing me.
Yeah.
Um, so, uh, and on top of that, I lost my sense of inner ear balance, that vestibular balance. So for the longest time before finally had my cochlear implants, the surgery and the tuned in and all that, which is a very long process.
I bet.
There was about 6 or 7 months where I was completely deaf, completely blind. I couldn't get on my treadmill or work out because I couldn't even stay on my feet. It
Mm-hmm.
was a very dark, very lonely, very isolating, awful time. I was not a very pleasant guy at that moment
Yeah.
during that time, and uh, I I tried to remember, and I tried to stick to that mindset, and basically it was putting my money where my mouth was. You know, I was preaching about the tools in my kit, and then I was knocked to the mat again.
Yeah.
So I decided that I was gonna I wasn't gonna I was gonna allow myself to feel sorry for myself. I wasn't gonna be a victim. It was a difficult road, but I decided to throw a huge Thanksgiving feast for the whole family. My wife and I were going to not worry about what we didn't have or the difficulties in our path. We were going to celebrate Thanksgiving, which I love because it's, you know, one, you get to celebrate with family. It's an excuse to
Yeah.
gather around the table and to, you know, to eat like a glutton.
Right.
But I started cooking weeks in advance, and it was something that I could do. I managed, you know, just muscle memory with even without my hearing or my sight. I was able to cook, and I was throwing myself into it, and I was really enjoying it. My Michaela, my wife, said that for the first time in 6 months, she'd seen something on me that she hadn't seen, and that was a smile.
Wow.
And I was cooking, you know, it's so many desserts that you can prepare in advance,
Yeah.
cakes and pies and cookies, and I was making batch after batch of fudge. You know, I'd finish one and I just start another because it was I was, you know, I was touching back on that old passion, and
Yeah.
I was throwing nuts and spices, taking bottles out of the liquor cabinet and dumping, and and it was great. And what Michaela soon noticed that the fudge was piling up. It was more than any family could finish in one setting. So she started sneaking it out the front door. I say sneaking like you got to be real stealthy around a
Yeah,
blind.
right.
But she was giving it away to neighbors, to friends, and soon enough, people were coming back and saying, this is terrific fudge. I've got a baby shower, I've got a birthday. You know, can I buy some more of this from you?" And of course, the capitalist in me said, "Well, of course you may."
Yeah.
And before we knew it, we had a business going, and I was cooking all day long. It was actually becoming. Uh, uh, do, Dominating our day, and we
Uh-huh.
decided we needed soon to expand into a commercial kitchen. We made it the real deal, and it's been taken off ever since.
That's incredible. So how long has that been going for now?
We've been doing this for 4 years now.
Okay. And is this something that's local? Is this something that like people can order online and get shipped, or what is?
Absolutely. In
Yeah.
fact, when coming to the decision point where were we going to do a brick and mortar or an online
Okay.
store or both, uh, we realized that, you know, it would be difficult enough to you know, run a brick and mortar store, and that would occupy a lot of our hours. Um, Couple that with the fact that that would be a whole new set of challenges for a blind deaf guy.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so we went with an online presence, and now we sell everything directly from EODfudge.com.
Cool. And so what? Yeah. So it started with fudge, but has it expanded to more than that?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Uh, so some of these things are, you know, we used to keep like our gophers. Imagine similar to a turtle,
Yeah.
caramel and, you know, chocolate pecans with a disc of chocolate on top and a sprinkling of sea salt.
Oh yeah.
Those things are absolutely addictive. We used to keep them in the house to hand out as samples, but none ever left the house.
Yeah. Right. I can imagine. So those are called gophers.
Gophers. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, we've got candy and chocolate covered colossal apples. Um,
Yeah.
uh, the sea salt and chocolate covered caramels are also pretty. Anything with our caramel is pretty
Yeah.
dynamite.
Oh,
But
wow.
we're expanding our selections all the time.
We'll talk, because I think of a championship level leader. Like I'm a football guy, so Bill Belichick or Nick Saban, some of the top coaches out there, right, doing what they do. And when I think of like vision, they have the vision, not only this great vision to be able to see some things that other leaders can't see, but also then the courage, if you will, to make decisions to take a path that most wouldn't typically take. And that's what sets them apart. What's a vision for you right now, and what you're doing? I know you do some speaking. You got the E.O.D. Extraordinary Delights company, and of course you're married with two young twins. That also, I know I got three kids myself. That takes up a lot of time and attention as well. So yeah, what's a vision for you over the next 5 years, let's say?
Well, we're going to take both the speaking engagements and extraordinary delights as far as we can go. Uh, the true vision is to get to the point where we can fire ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We want to grow the business so that it can run itself, or we can find, we can hire the team that will take over for us, and then pick up the next project because, well, why stop?
Yeah.
Uh, I
Yeah.
think I hope, I I can emulate some of my favorite, my best leaders,
Yeah.
in the fact that I never accept good enough.
Mm-hmm.
There's always room for improvement. There's always ways to share the knowledge. There's always the next step.
Yeah.
And once you feel like you're congratulating yourself on a job well done too long, you become
Yeah.
complacent. I
Right.
don't want to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. So, do you enjoy the speaking?
I love speaking. I love sharing my story, and of course the lessons I've learned throughout it. One of my favorite aspects of this is that people can come to me and say that they were truly inspired, that I've shaped or influenced their life in some way, and it is one of the most rewarding feelings in this world, is to leave an impact.
Yeah. Have you written a book?
I'm sorry.
Have you written a book?
No books yet. Working on that, but
Yeah.
between the baby bottles and diaper changes,
And
but
fudge
yeah,
and yeah.
yeah, that's in the works.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's incredible. What uh what are what are one or two things that you could leave um with the listeners today to really help them to maybe move forward in their life if they're feeling kind of stuck? Like, is there one or two things that you could leave them with here today to help them out, to move them forward?
I just believe that no matter how hard it gets, and I've become my own case study in hardship. Beyond that, my wife has been just uh, undefeatable. She's been incredibly strong through this whole thing,
Yeah.
and she's the example of how there is no quit.
Yeah.
You can get through just about anything in your life, um, if you have a little bit of grit, that passion
Mhm.
plus perseverance,
Yeah.
desire and discipline.
Yeah. Yeah. That's incredible to have your wife and people like that around you to help you through those times. You mentioned lastly, as we're wrapping this up, you talked about how you were running some marathons and doing some other things. Is that something that you're able to get back to? Are you able to do any of that?
Well, I advocate for quite a few organizations, organizations that have definitely touched our lives, helped us in difficult times, um, and whenever possible, I try to help them pass on their goodwill to the next in need.
Yeah.
Organizations like Building Homes for Heroes,
Yeah.
because I live in one of a gifted home. And the Boot Campaign, Team River Runner, they're the ones that got me on Whitewater, which was just unthinkable when I was first injured.
Yeah.
Some I remember being a Walter Reed and sitting in, lying in the hospital bed, and after I'd healed up, it'd been a couple of weeks. Somebody asked me, "Hey, do you want to go for a bike ride?" I said, "You got to be messing with me."
You're right.
And it, no, 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 a tandem. And I said, "I don't want to go on one of those beachcomber basket things." No, tandem blind cycling is a real thing, and it's a true competition.
Wow.
And it opened up my mind to what possibilities there were. Somebody asked me if I wanted to go golfing. I'm like, okay, now you're messing with me. No,
No,
there's blind golfing out there, and it's
yeah.
it's awesome. I've been golf, and my swing has actually improved since I stopped looking.
Isn't that
Um,
amazing? Yeah.
and then and the surprise is I should stop being surprised, but somebody said a blind guy had climbed Everest. Blind guy has kayaked the entire Grand Canyon.
Wow.
And by this time, I thought, okay, everything is possible.
Yeah.
Nothing is out of reach. I saw those guys out. I went kayaking with Lonnie Bedwell, the first blind person to kayak the Grand Canyon. I went mountain climbing with Eric Weinmayer, the first one to touch the top of Everest without his vision. And then those are the types of examples that the type of example I want to set as well.
Yeah. That's true championship leadership right there. Like not allowing any limitations to be placed on them, and to go out and to still live and to accomplish some incredible things. So I love that. Yeah. And kudos to you for continuing that on as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. What are some ways? I know you mentioned it, but if you could again, please mention where we can get more of your tasty delights, as well as find out any more about you as far as the speaking that you do and things that you have going on. Like how can we follow you and find out more about you?
Absolutely. Well, everybody can follow us and keep up to date with us at all the social medias: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. It's at E.O.D. Confections. And of course, you can read more about our story, order some chocolates, and even inquire about getting me to speak for your events
Mm-hmm.
at eodfudge.com.
Okay, great. And we'll make sure that we include these all in the show notes as well. So I appreciate you, Aaron. Thank you so much for taking the time. I really, really do appreciate it. I know you're a busy man, and so thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your service. And thank you for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a great day.
Bye.